The run game didn't put up the gaudy numbers that it has in the past, and hasn't for a couple of weeks. Is that a concern, or is it more a function of, Kevin Stefanski is looking at it and going, okay, they want us to beat them in the air. Well, beat them in the air.
I think that run game is still there. I think what we saw early in the year, and really, like I said, in those bad weather games in November, was this team leaning on the run game because they had to. But I do think this is a team that wants to move the football through the air. And, this is an analytics driven organization, and analytics does favor kind of that quick passing game in a lot of instances. So, they're not going to be afraid to be a pass heavy football team, but they know they can lean on Nick Chubb and they can lean on Kareem Hunt. And, once again, going to that second 95-yard drive, Nick Chubb had a couple of pretty good runs on that drive, including his longest run of the night. So I think this coaching staff understands that if they need to lean on that run game and go back to that run game, they can do it.
Well, we got another, what would be the third offensive lineman in the rotation in Nick Harris, who came in and filled in for Hubbard very early in the game and played pretty well. You're starting to see that a lot. We saw it with Sheldrick Redwine on the defensive side of the ball. Is that a sign of the work that Andrew Berry's doing, or is it a sign of the work that this coaching staff is doing and coaching them up?
I think it's kind of a sign of that alignment they've been seeking, right? Because it feels like everything Andrew Berry did this offseason has worked. And a big piece of that is the guys he's brought in, this coaching staff has just worked to really develop. So a guy like Donovan Peoples-Jones or Nick Harris, Nick Harris doesn't get playing time really except on special teams, and then he's thrown into action against a pretty good Giants defensive line, and he played well. This is a guy that played center in college his last few years. He did play a little bit of guard when he first got to Washington. I thought maybe he was a guy that would have a chance to compete at right guard in a normal offseason, and then he had to fill in for J.C. Tretter in training camp, so he never got a shot to do that. It obviously worked out well for the Browns, but to have these young guys, these rookies, ready to come in and step in and play important roles, one, it means that Andrew Berry identified their talent, but two, it means that these coaches from the position coach, really starting with the position coaches, are really working to develop these guys and get these guys ready.
Teller, again, banged up. Wyatt Teller, unable to go. How big of a piece is he to that offensive line? And let me put it to you this way as well. Joel Bitonio made the Pro Bowl. Myles Garrett did. Nick Chubb did. If Wyatt Teller doesn't miss a game, do you think he ends up being a Pro Bowler? I kind of do because of the way he graded out.
I think he would have had a chance. But the problem you have on the offensive line is sometimes it's kind of a reputation thing. I mean, it took Joel Bitonio a little time to start making Pro Bowls. And once you kind of break through, if you're an offensive lineman, you can kind of just hang on to that position for a long time. Now, obviously, Joe Thomas is a guy that made it as a rookie, but some guys, especially in those interior positions, have to wait a little while. I think Wyatt Teller, like league-wide, is still kind of I don't want to say an unknown, but he's still sort of building that brand a little bit to get some of those votes from players and coaches and fans. So there can be a little bit of a lag there. I mean, think about a guy like J.C. Tretter, who, I think has been as good a center as there is in football since the Browns brought him here. He never really gets voted into the Pro Bowl. So that's a tough position to get into in the Pro Bowl. And Bitonio is kind of getting there now, not just because he's playing well, but because he's established that reputation.
How important is Teller? I mean, that's a guy that he's big and he's physical. And how much better is the Browns' offensive line when they can plug that monster in over at guard?
So after Teller got hurt initially, Nick Chubb was out at the same time. And there was some discussion, who's more important to the run game, Nick Chubb or Wyatt Teller? And we were never really able to answer that question because they were both out at the same time and came back at the same time. Maybe we're going to get a little bit of an answer. Maybe part of the struggles on Sunday night were because Wyatt Teller wasn't out there. So it's worth keeping an eye on it. If he's unable to go on Sunday, which it looks like he won't be able to, or, if he's not back until the postseason, to kind of see how this running game plays with Wyatt Teller out, and then how it might look when he comes back for that potential first playoff game.